going on, YouTube universe? Welcome to the Hip and Shoulder, and ladies and gentlemen, boy oh boy, strap yourselves in, because this weekend we are getting two preliminary finals that are going to be absolutely off the fucking charts. I'm not just talking about the talent that we're going to see on the field, but the fact that we could potentially see upwards of 90,000 plus at both of these games in the stands. It's just going to be electric. I am so excited to see how this plans out. We are eating good, regardless of whether you're a Geelong fan, Hawthorn fan, Collingwood fan, Brisbane fan, or just a neutral fan. I feel these two prelims are about to deliver two of the best preliminary finals that we have seen in recent history. I'm dead set. I am really looking forward to it. And the fact that it kicks off later on tonight means that I've been slacking on getting my tips out. So let's dive on in, shall we? The first prelim does kick off tonight, as I said, and it will feature Geelong hosting Hawthorn at the MCG. This, I feel, and I said it in my round recap, if you missed it, feel free to go check it out. This is going to be a game that I think GWS are going to be very disappointed in themselves that they couldn't get over the hurdle of Hawthorn in the first week. Because had they beaten Hawthorn, I think they would have gone and beaten Adelaide, and I feel they would have beaten Geelong. This is... the implications of this final series has bearing on so much around the scope of not just these four teams that are playing on, but you can visually see pathways that some teams could have gone down if things had fallen their way, but unfortunately, that's not the case. And we are getting a classic rivalry between these two teams going head-to-head, with one of them bowing out, one of them going on to the grand final. Who makes it through, though? That is the pivotal question, because when we look at the fixturing for this year, Geelong and Hawthorn have only faced each other the one time. It was at the MCG in round 6, and it was Geelong 12-14-86, defeating Hawthorn 11-13-79, 7 points the way of Geelong. Having a look at the major ball winners for that game, for Hawthorn, Carl Amon had 29, Jai Newcomb had 28, Harry Morrison was in the team and had 23, Warple had 22, Scrimshaw had 22, Weddle had 19. It was a very defensively built game, because when you look at the top possession getters for Hawthorn, it was Amon, Scrimshaw, Weddle, Sicily, Impey, those type of players. For Geelong, it was Bailey Smith, Tom Atkins, Max Holmes, Ollie Dempsey, the usual suspects. With the goal kickers, it was a quiet day from some people that have really started popping off in a big way. I mean, Gunston kicks 3, Manor and Dangerfield kick 3, Chol kicks 3, Watson kicks 2, Jeremy Cameron only kicked 2 in that particular game. Gunston has definitely turned favour since then. Jeremy Cameron has dropped off a little bit as well, so I don't know whether he's going to be as potent for Geelong, but it's going to be a very interesting battle to see how Cameron goes up one end, Gunston goes up the other. As far as locking down players go, we know Geelong have avenues to tag through different means. Atkins can run a hard tag, Connor O'Sullivan has potential to run a tag, O'Sheen Mullen has potential to run a tag. I feel they need to lock down Jai Newcomb. He has been too big the last couple of weeks to be completely ignored here. Forward half of the ball, maybe they look at shutting down somebody like a Jack Ginnivan or a Nick Watson. Tom Stewart, maybe the man that goes to Jack Gunston. Will it be Zach Guthrie? I'm not sure, but we do know whoever goes on him needs to shut down those leading lanes in a big way, because if he gets a gap on you, he's going to put you to the sword. In the ruck, I think Lloyd Meek gets the better of it. Hawthorn have proven that their clearance game during this final series has been pivotal to them winning the ball and maintaining possession, so getting first hand on it is going to be critical. Both of these defensive structures stand up tall. Both of their forward lines have moments where they can stand tall. This is as genuine an arm wrestle of a preliminary final that we have seen in recent years. It is very hard for me to determine how this is going to fall, because a lot of people are just suggesting that Geelong coming off of the break are going to absolutely smack Hawthorn. But I feel Hawthorn, while they might be a little bit gassed having to play that extra final, they travelled to Sydney. Face of adversity, they got it done against GWS. They then went to Adelaide. Face of adversity, they got it done there. Coming back to the MCG might be the perfect time for them to strike, and both of these teams are coming into this game unchanged from the last time we saw them. So it's the exact same lineup we saw against Adelaide last week for Hawthorn, and it is the same lineup that defeated Brisbane in week 1 of the finals for Geelong, and they did that comfortably. So very hard to gauge again where these teams are at, because when they versed each other it was early on in the piece. So you can't really hang your hat on the fact that Geelong only beat them by 7 points, because Geelong have come into their own since then, but Hawthorn have changed their favour as well. As far as my tip, I'm going to say Hawthorn. And that's a bit rough, because at the start of the year, I said Geelong would make the grand final. So I'm going against my own prediction here. I just feel Hawthorn have built too much momentum, and if they can get a jump on Geelong like they did against Adelaide, those quick goals in succession early on, this could really set them up to get a huge win. At the very least, we are going to get a banging matchup regardless of where the win falls, and that as a neutral supporter is exciting to myself, because while some are suggesting, these 4 teams, we've seen them win grand finals before, it's boring, and out of the last 50 prelims, these 4 teams have featured in 44 of them in some way, shape or form. So if they're good enough to be here at the pointy end of the year, they're good enough to win the flag. And as much as it might upset some people that we're not getting something different, hey, we're getting banging matchups along the way. That's all we can ask for. But for me, Hawthorn get it done in a tight contest. I'm going to tip them by 17 points, with Jai Newcomb overcoming a tag in order to get the win. Jack Gunston, he's going to kick 5. Saturday night sees the second prelim go down back at the MCG, with Collingwood hosting Brisbane. And it's even more difficult to get a read on this game, because unlike Hawthorn and Geelong, Brisbane and Collingwood have faced off twice this year, and both those times garnered a different result. The first time was back in round 6, the same time as the last time Geelong and Hawthorn faced each other, and it was Collingwood 16-9-105 defeating Brisbane 7-11-53 at the Gabba. Huge. In that game, Nick Dacos had 38 disposals, Josh Dacos had 30, Steele Sidebottom had 26, Pendlebury had 21, Ned Long had 21. The biggest ball winner for this game for Brisbane was Lachie Neale with 25. Everyone else, apart from Josh Dunkley, who had 21, was sub-20. Zorko only had 20. McCluggage only had 20. Levi Ashcroft had 19. What did Will Ashcroft have? Did he even play this game? Will Ashcroft only had the 13 disposals. And we know that he's turned his finals campaign on its head. So, again, different part of the season. Brisbane started off a little bit rough, and Collingwood started like a house on fire. And we have recently, leading up to finals, see that the script flipped. We then had them face off again in round 21, so only a few months back. Well, not even a few months back in August, so the start of last month. And it was Brisbane 14-8-92 defeating Collingwood 10-5-65 at the MCG. But that was a game that Lachie Neale had 36, McCluggage had 34, Will Ashcroft had 30. These are players that didn't get off the chain the first time around, that found ascendancy the second time around. Nick Dacos had 29, Josh Dacos had 29, Pendlebury had 22, then everyone else was pretty much sub-20. All the top possession getters for this game were pretty much Brisbane players. And I think, as I look through the players that played these games, it was very little influence from players like Dan McStay, Bobby Hill, players like that. I feel Mason Cox coming into this Collingwood lineup is huge. It's an unchanged lineup, bar one change. Jeremy Howe comes back into Collingwood's defensive line. And I think that just makes that defensive line infinitely greater. We saw what they did against Adelaide in the first week. That intercept game that they ran was absolutely pivotal to them getting over the line. And the likes of Moore, Maynard, Quainer all popped off. You throw Jeremy Howe back into that mix, and that only bolsters that fact. They are coming in hot. They are coming in strong. They have gone without Bobby Hill, which I think is a huge call, because if they lose this game, do they rue the fact that they didn't select him? But if they win, how does the discussion point go along to then justifying his selection for the grand final if it didn't warrant selection in the prelim? It's a big call. Jordan De Goey, I feel, is set to pop off in this game. I don't know whether Josh Dunkley will be the one to run a hard tag on Nick Dacos, but we have seen in parts this year, Craig McRae has an answer for that. He will happily take Nick Dacos, throw him deep forward and make him a forward threat, taking Josh Dunkley or somebody like that out of the midfield equation for Brisbane. Brisbane don't have Lachie Neale, who was the major disposal winner in both of the times these two teams have played off for Brisbane. I think the big thing they need to work around here is whether or not they run someone to go with Hugh McCluggage. Because Hugh McCluggage, they saw it in week 1. The tag was ran on him against Geelong. Brisbane's run and carry was shut down infinitely. And that is something that didn't happen last week against the Gold Coast. And Hugh McCluggage ran rampant. I think he had 33 disposals. And I feel that's a type of player that you need to shut down. You need to stop somebody like a Hugh McCluggage getting the ball in the absence of somebody like a Lachie Neale. No Eric Hipwood up forward as well. I'm not sure if Eric Hipwood, he did play the last time they played, but he did not register a goal. Logan Morris kicked 6. But then again, no Eric Hipwood. So now the best defender will go to Logan Morris, and that then frees up somebody like a Jeremy Howe to come through as that second man up, that intercept marker. I just think this game is set up for Collingwood to win. As much as I would love to see Brisbane go back-to-back, one of my closest friends is an avid Brisbane supporter. Actually, I've got a few friends that go for Brisbane that would love to see it back-to-back, and I would love to see it for them. But I just think Collingwood have turned their fortunes around at the right time. Heading into this final series, they were 5 from their last 10 games, which was the worst return by any team in the top 8. But seeing how they dismantled Adelaide defensively, I feel they can do that against Brisbane, because I would rate Adelaide's forward line ahead of Brisbane's forward line this season, just from return. Logan Morris has been huge, but with no Eric Hipwood to take that the better ruckman, or the second best, that frees somebody up to take that sweeping role. Mason Cox coming in now means we're going to see Oscar McInerney double teamed. Brisbane are going unchanged, and I am pretty sure the Big O did play last week. I will just verify to make sure I'm not being an absolute idiot. I know Darcy Fort played. Yeah, Darcy Fort and Oscar McInerney both played, and I feel the combination of Mason Cox and Darcy Cameron is greater than Fort and McInerney. I just think everything is going to fall into place here. They tag Nick Dacos, Jordan De Goey is going to pop off. Josh Dacos has potential to get thrown into the midfield. We've seen him turn a game on its head. He could be the match winner here. I feel in the absence of players for Brisbane, the addition of a player to Collingwood just makes that lineup so much stronger. So I'm going to back Collingwood by 23 points. I am going to back in Nick Dacos to get at least 26 disposals. And we are going to see Jamie Elliott bag at least 3 goals. That's my big call for that game. Which means, for the first time in AFL history, I do believe, feel free to correct me, this is something I've seen going along social media, kind of blowing my mind a little bit, but it would see Collingwood and Hawthorn go head-to-head in a grand final for the first time ever. Ever. And they're two completely polarizing styles of gameplay that I would love to see go head-to-head. And as far as Victorian football is concerned, that is a huge rivalry that hitting a grand final day would be absolutely mouth-watering to sit back and watch as a neutral supporter. So, again, touching on it, we're going with Hawthorn to defeat Geelong tonight. I'm going with Collingwood to defeat Brisbane next week, which means the next time we return with a tipping video will be the grand final preview. Whichever team makes it through, I'll be happy to watch. I can't argue at this point in time any of these 4 not being deserving of the premiership. If Geelong goes on to win, if Brisbane goes on to win, any combination of these 4 teams going head-to-head in the grand final, it's going to be a great watch. I'm certain of it, especially given the last few grand finals we've seen. Kind of a bit of a blowout in some regards, so it's going to be good to see at least a hard-fought contest. That's all we want, right? Thank you for joining me. Do leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Do hit that subscribe button if you're new around here and want to get on board the community we're building. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. If your team is still alive, good luck to you this weekend. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.